You ask AI a question, and in seconds, you get an answer. No struggle, no confusion. But are we still thinking or just receiving answers?
What is up, people of the internet? You're here with
4 voices,
One table,
and one shared space for every kind of kwento.
This is CJ.
Jobi
Carlos.
and Glian,
Where Chica meets real talk and everything in between.
where laughs and truth be combined as one. Welcome to
𝖨-യു𝗒ં, the talk has just begun. It's begun. Okay, so let's really start from the beginning. Because before we talk about whether AI is making us smarter or more dependent, we need to understand how it even became part of our lives. Like, imagine life before AI. No ChatGPT, no Google Maps predicting traffic, no TikTok algorithm knowing exactly what you want to watch next.
Yeah, and it's actually crazy when you think about it. Before AI became mainstream, people relied heavily on manual searching, physical libraries, and human decision making for almost everything. Even simple things like asking directions, you had to actually talk to someone or read a map. There was no Siri, where's the nearest cafe?
Think about it, like two different students today. You have a student A who uses AI as GPS. They know where they want to go, and they use AI to find the nearest route, but they're still the ones driving the car. They double check the turns and know the landmarks.
Then you have student B, who uses AI like a self-driving car. They just put in the destination, fall asleep in the back seat, and hope the car gets them there. If the car takes a wrong turn or ends up in a lake, they have no idea how to get back home because they weren't paying attention to the road.
Exactly, and that's the real life contrast we see now. One person uses the tool to get better at the journey, and one just wants to skip the journey entirely.
Yeah, but historically speaking, AI didn't just appear overnight. It actually started as an academic concept back in the 1950s, when scientists began exploring whether machines could think like humans. According to MIT Sloan, the Business School of Massachusetts Institute of Technology, AI development went through decades of slow progress before finally becoming practical in everyday applications due to advancements in data and computing power. So basically, it was like long research phase, then boom, suddenly AI is everywhere in the 2010s and especially after 2020. And UNESCO explains that modern AI became widely accessible because of three things: big data, faster computers, and machine learning algorithms that improve over time.
That's a perfect reference, Jobi. You mentioned the 1950s, which sounded like ancient history for tech, but that's really where the seeds were planted. If we're going to talk about how we got here, we have to talk about the founding fathers and those first sparks of digital thought.
Right, and you can't mention the beginning without talking about Alan Turing. During World War II, he was already breaking codes. But in 1950, he published a paper asking a simple, radical question: can machines think?
He's basically the grandfather of the whole field. He proposed the Turing test, which was this benchmark: if a human is talking to a computer and a person at the same time and can't tell which is which, then the computer has reached a level of intelligence.
But the term artificial intelligence itself didn't actually come from Turing, right? Exactly. That happened in 1956 at the Dartmouth workshop. That's where John McCarthy, who is officially known as the father of artificial intelligence, gathered a group of scientists to figure out how to make machines use language and form abstractions. They thought that they could solve most of it in a single summer. Talk about optimistic.
A single summer? We're 70 years later, and we're still debating how it works. But back then, the earliest forms weren't the complex, creative bots like we have now. They were more like expert systems or logic machines.
Yeah.
But what's interesting is how natural it feels now. We don't think of it as AI anymore. It just feels like part of our daily lives.
Right, and according to educational research, AI assistants are becoming integrated into learning environments to support personalized education. So they're not just convenience tools, they're becoming learning companions.
Right. Okay, this one is probably the most addictive part of AI. Recommendation systems, like YouTube recommending your next video before you even think about it.
Or TikTok's For You page. You scroll for 1 minute and suddenly it's 2 hours later.
That's actually AI analyzing your behavior. What you watch, how long you watch, what you skip. MIT Solans explains that these systems are designed to predict users' preference using behavior data patterns.
And that's where it gets interesting. It's not just showing content, it's shaping what we consume daily. So even our attention span is being influenced by AI systems.
Another everyday example is navigation apps like Google Maps or Waze.
Before these apps, people had to memorize routes or rely on directions from others. Now, AI can predict traffic, suggest shortcuts, and even estimate arrival times.
And for students, it's super helpful like when commuting to school, events, or meeting with friends.
This is also a form of predictive AI. It uses real-time data to adjust routes dynamically, making transportation more efficient.
We also can't forget smart devices, our phones, smartwatches, and even smart home systems.
Like phones unlocking with face recognition or watches tracking heart rate.
Even students use AI-powered health tracking apps without realizing it, like steps counters or sleep monitors.
According to research, AI-driven devices are now part of daily health and lifestyle monitoring systems, improving convenience and awareness.
AI is also huge in healthcare.
Yeah, doctors use AI to analyze scans, detect diseases early, and even recommend treatments.
The World Health Organization highlights that AI can improve diagnostic accuracy and support healthcare workers globally.
So it's literally helping save lives, not just making life easier.
And lastly, communication and entertainment.
We now have AI chat filters, auto captions, translation tools, and even AI-generated content.
Even memes and short videos are influenced by AI editing tools.
And in communication, AI translation tools help people talk across different languages instantly, breaking barriers globally.
So when we look at everything, school, work, healthcare, and entertainment, AI isn't just part of life anymore. It is part of life.
And most of us don't even notice it anymore because it's so integrated in our routines.
But that makes it even more important to understand how it works and how it affects us.
Because once something becomes invisible in daily life, that's when it has the most influence.
Yeah, that's right. So, alright, so let's move on to how AI is actually changing studying itself, starting with AI tutoring systems. Like now, students don't always need to wait for a teacher or class discussion just to understand a topic.
Yeah, and AI tutoring systems basically act like instant explainers. You can ask something like, explain photosynthesis in simple terms, and it adjusts based on how you want to learn.
And that connects to the research from UNESCO, which says AI-powered tutoring tools are becoming part of personalized education systems, especially because they can adapt to different learning speeds.
But here's something important. Just because it explains something doesn't always mean students fully understand it. Like, there's a difference between reading an explanation and actually learning the concept deeply.
True. I feel like sometimes it's like, oh, I get it now. But when you try to solving a similar problem, and suddenly everything disappears.
Now, this is one of AI's biggest strengths, personalized learning. AI can adjust difficulty, suggest topics to read, and even recommend what to study next.
According to research from the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, AI in education can improve learning outcomes by tailoring content to individual students' needs.
That's actually a big deal because in traditional classrooms, one teacher handles many students with different learning speeds. So AI kind of fills that gap.
Yeah, like if you're slow in math but fast in English like me, AI can adjust instead of forcing a one-size-fits-all system.
But the downside is students might start depending on AI to decide what they should study instead of developing their own learning strategy.
Let's talk about speed, because AI has basically made information instant. You don't need to scroll through multiple websites anymore.
Right. MIT's Sloan explains that AI reduces information retrieval time dramatically, which increases productivity but also changes how people process knowledge.
Like before, if you had a research assignment, you'd spend hours reading articles. Now you just ask AI and get a summarized answer in seconds.
But that also creates what some researchers call instant answer dependency, where students stop verifying or deeply reading sources.
So it's like we gain speed but maybe lost patience for deeper learning.
Summarization tools are another huge thing students use, like uploading a long article and getting bullet point notes instantly.
Yeah, and honestly, it helps a lot during exams when you're reviewing multiple topics all at once.
But studies on cognitive offloading show that when people rely too much on summaries, they may lose the ability to process long-form information deeply.
So instead of reading and understanding the full material, students might just rely on shortened versions.
Which is efficient, but also risky for long-term comprehension.
That's right, I totally agree. Now let's talk about language tools like translation and grammar correction.
This is super helpful for students, especially when writing essays or learning new languages.
AI tools can translate instantly or even suggest better sentence structure.
And according to digital education studies, AI language tools help improve accessibility in global learning environments.
So it really helps break language barriers. But I also feel like sometimes students rely on it too much for writing instead of learning grammar themselves.
Yeah, let's be real. AI makes students more productive. You can finish tasks faster, organize notes, and manage time better.
Yeah, I agree. Even group projects become more efficient because AI helps brainstorming outlines and drafts.
Research from Harvard suggests that AI tools significantly increase productivity by reducing repetitive tasks.
But there's the trade-off. If everything becomes easier, do we lose the habit of struggling through problems? Do we become more competent when we are faced with challenges? Because sometimes struggle is where real learning happens.
Yeah, I think this is the biggest issue, overdependence. If students always rely on AI, they might lose the confidence in their own thinking.
And there's also misinformation. Not all AI-generated answers are accurate, especially if the model is outdated or misinterprets data.
Exactly. That's why academic institutions emphasize critical thinking and verification when using AI tools.
So AI is helpful, but only if we still do the thinking ourselves.
It's like a calculator. It helps you compute faster, but you still need to understand math.
Otherwise, you are just copying answers without learning anything.
So overall, AI as a learning tool is powerful, but it's not perfect.
It makes learning faster and more accessible, but it can also reduce deep thinking if misused.
So the real challenge is balance.
Because AI doesn't replace learning, it reshapes how learning happens.
Alright, so now let's talk about something really important. Convenience versus critical thinking. Because AI makes everything so easy. But the question is, are we still actually thinking?
Yeah, like when we use AI to instantly answer questions, summarize lessons, or solve problems, it feels productive, but it also removes the struggle part of learning. And according to cognitive science research, this is called cognitive offloading, as we mentioned earlier, where we shift the mental effort to technology instead of doing it ourselves.
And honestly, I feel that in real life, like when I rely too much on AI for explanation, I understand it in the moment, but when I'm tested later, I sometimes forget everything. That connects to studies showing that over-reliance on external tools can reduce long-term memory retention.
But to be fair, convenience isn't always bad. AI actually helps us focus on higher level thinking by removing repetitive tasks. MIT Sloan even mentions that AI increases efficiency in decision making and information processing. So the issue isn't convenience, it's how much we depend on it.
So exactly, it all depends on our usage. That's true, but I think the danger is subtle because it doesn't feel like we're losing critical thinking until we actually try to think deeply without AI.
Yeah, like we start expecting instant answers for everything, even simple questions. We don't pause to think anymore. We just directly ask AI.
And that can slowly affect problem-solving skills. Because instead of working through confusion, we skip straight to the answer.
Which is why educators are emphasizing AI literacy, knowing when to use AI and when to think independently.
It really raises the question, are we still actually thinking, or are we just skipping straight to the finish line because it's easier? Now we're going to step away for a quick second, but while we're gone, we want to hear from you, our kasamas. Comment down below, do you feel like AI is making you sharper, or is it just doing your heavy lifting? Think about it, and we'll be right back.
And we're back at the table. If you are just joining us, we've been talking about this tension between convenience and critical thinking, especially with how easy it is to get instant answers. Before the break, we were asking, are we still learning deeply or just rushing to the answer? And when you think about it, if we keep relying on AI to do the heavy lifting, it doesn't just affect how we solve problems. It could start affecting something deeper. So let me throw this to you, CJ. If AI is changing how we think, what about how we create?
Yeah, that's where it gets really interesting. Because creativity has always been seen as something deeply human. So if AI is stepping into that space too, like generative AI, what does that mean for us creators?
Yeah, so AI is now used in art, music, and writing, and all sorts of other creative things. It can generate paintings, compose music, and even write essays or stories.
Yeah, like students use AI to help brainstorm ideas or create outlines for writing tasks. It's like having a creative assistant that never runs out of ideas.
Research from creative technology studies show that AI is increasingly integrated into human creative processes, acting as a collaborator rather than just a tool.
But here's the debate. If AI generates the idea, is it still your creativity doing the job?
Well, I'd say AI is not truly creative. It doesn't have emotions, experiences, or intentions. It just analyzes patterns from existing data and ideas.
I agree with that. Even neuroscience research suggests that human creativity still surpasses AI because human can connect emotions, imaginations, and personal experience.
But I think AI can still contribute to creativity. It doesn't replace originality, it expands possibilities. Like sometimes AI gives ideas you wouldn't think in your own.
So maybe AI isn't a creator, but more like a creative spark.
Yeah, but there's still a risk. If students rely too much on AI generated ideas, they might stop developing their own originality.
On the positive side, AI can help with brainstorming, like when you're stuck, it can give directions or inspirations, like.
Exactly. Some studies suggest AI enhances creative productivity by reducing creative blocks and helping generate alternative perspectives.
So instead of replacing creativity, it might actually unlock it if used properly.
But that depends on the user. If you just copy what AI gives, then your originality disappears.
So I think AI is like a double-edged tool. It can either support creativity or replace it, depending on how it is used.
And that's the key difference. AI-assisted creativity versus AI-dependent creativity. One enhances human imagination, the other replaces it.
So it's not about whether AI is creative or not. It's about whether we remain creative while using it.
And that brings us back to critical thinking. Because creativity and thinking are connected. If we lose one, we risk losing the other.
So overall, AI gives us convenience, but it challenges how deeply we think.
And it gives us creative tools, but also raises questions about originality.
So the real issue isn't AI replacing us.
It's whether we're still actively using our minds while using it.
We've talked about how AI changes our hobbies and our homework. But let's look at the bigger picture, the real world. The number one question everyone asks is AI going to take my future job?
You know, it's a valid fear, especially these times. We're seeing AI handle things like data entry, basic coding, and even drafting legal documents. Research from Goldman Sachs actually suggests that AI could automate the equivalent of 300 million full-time jobs globally.
But it's not just about replacement, it's about evolution. Think about it. The ATM. People thought it would kill the bank teller's job, but instead, it just changed what tellers did. They moved from counting cash to solving complex customer problems. AI is doing the same.
Exactly. It's creating entirely new roles that didn't exist 2 years ago, like prompt engineers, AI ethicists, and machine learning maintenance. According to the World Economic Forum, while 85 million jobs might be displaced, 97 million new roles could emerge that are more adapted to the new division of labor between humans, machines, and algorithms.
So, if you're a student right now, how do you prepare? What careers are AI proof?
Well, I think the careers that will thrive are the ones that double down on what AI can do. Complex emotional intelligence, high-level strategy, and specialized physical trade skills. We need to prepare for a human AI collaboration roles.
We aren't just competing with AI, we are learning to manage it. The goal for our generation is to be the ones who knows how to use the tools, not the ones being replaced by it.
But as these jobs change and AI takes more control over our professional lives, that's where the question of responsibility and ethics really start to matter.
Alright, so now we're entering one of the most serious parts of the discussion, AI ethics. Because at this point, AI isn't just about convenience or learning anymore. It's about responsibility.
Yeah, like who is actually responsible when AI makes a mistake? Is it the developer, the user, or the system itself?
That's a big question in global discussion. The United Nations has actually emphasizes that AI system must be developed with transparency, accountability, and human oversight.
But in real life, that's not always clear. Like when AI generates wrong information or biased outputs, people often just assume it's correct because it sounds confident.
So exactly, in developing AI systems, really need actual humans to oversee it. Because what if there's gonna be a Terminator type of situation and they will kill humanity? But that is just something in science fiction. And that's dangerous because AI doesn't just understand truth. It predicts based on data patterns. So if data is biased, the output can also be biased.
Exactly, and that's why ethical concerns are growing, especially in education, healthcare, and decision-making systems.
Now, let's talk about misinformation. Because AI has made it easier than ever to generate fake but realistic content.
Yeah, like deep fakes, AI-generated news, and even fake academic sources. Research shows that AI-generated content can significantly amplify misinformation when shared through social platforms.
And the scary part is, people don't always question it anymore. If it looks real, sounds real, and is formatted well, people just believe it.
Well, that connects to studies about echo chambers and social media algorithms, where users are exposed to repeated similar content, reinforcing beliefs even if they're false, like in our lesson in MIL, right guys?
Yeah.
So AI doesn't just create information, it can also amplify misinformation depending on how it is used.
Which raises a question. Should AI-generated content always be labeled? Because right now, not everything is clearly marked as AI created.
Exactly. I think it should be. Otherwise, it becomes really hard to tell what's real and what's artificial.
Yeah. Now let's connect this to students again, because academic integrity is also a huge issue when we're talking about AI.
Yeah, universities like Harvard and Cornell have concerns about students using AI to complete assignments without actually learning the material.
And that creates a problem. Are students still learning or just submitting AI-generated work?
But I also think banning AI completely isn't realistic anymore. It's already part of the system.
Yeah, true. Instead, schools are now focusing on teaching responsible AI use, how to cite it, verify it, and use it ethically.
So the goal is not avoidance but accountability.
Another major concern is bias in AI systems. Because AI is trained on human-generated data, it can inherit human biases.
Yeah, that's right. So if data is biased, the AI output reflects that bias too.
Exactly. That's why organizations like UNESCO emphasize ethical AI governance to ensure fairness and inclusivity.
And that issue is most users don't even see how AI makes decisions. It's like a black box.
Which leads to another concern, power concentration. Because a few companies control most AI systems, they also influence what information people see.
That's right. So looking forward, what happens if AI becomes even more advanced?
Some experts warn about what we said earlier, overdependence, where humans might rely too much on AI for decision making in critical areas like education, work, and even governance.
But others argue that AI will improve human decisions making by reducing errors and increasing efficiency.
So it's basically a balance between innovation and control.
But here's the real debate. If AI becomes smarter than humans in many areas, do we lose control or do we evolve with it?
Well, I think we risk losing control if we stop questioning AI outputs.
But if we regulate it properly and stay critically aware, it can still be a powerful tool.
So maybe the future isn't about AI replacing humans. It's about whether humans stay responsible enough to guide AI.
So ethics, misinformation, and risks all point to one thing. AI is powerful, but not neutral.
It reflects human choices, human data, and human systems.
So the responsibility still comes back to us.
And the real challenge is making sure innovation doesn't move faster than responsibility.
So after everything we've discussed, learning, creativity, risks, and ethics, the real question now is, what do we actually do with AI in our daily lives? Because at this point, avoiding AI completely doesn't feel realistic anymore.
Yeah, I think the goal isn't to stop using AI. It's to use it responsibly. Like, AI should be a tool that supports thinking, not replaces it.
That connects to what experts call digital literacy. Not just knowing how to use technology, but knowing how to evaluate, question, and verify it. So, it's not enough to just ask AI. We also need to ask, is this correct? Is this reliable?
And that's where fact-checking becomes really important. Because even if AI sounds confident, it can still be wrong or outdated. So students still need to cross-check with credible sources.
And that's right. I think a simple rule could be, don't let AI be your only source. Use it as a starting point, not the final answer.
Yeah, like AI can explain something, but you should still verify it using textbooks, articles, or trusted websites. That way, you're still actively learning instead of just consuming answers.
Another important point is balancing convenience and effort, because AI makes things faster, but effort is still what builds understanding.
Exactly. If everything becomes too easy, we risk losing core skills like writing, problem solving, and critical analysis. So maybe the real skill today is knowing when to use AI and when to challenge yourself without it.
So basically, responsible AI use is about control and regulation. We use AI, but we don't let it think for us.
Yeah, alright, so after all what we discussed, we've looked at learning, creativity, ethics, risk. We have to answer the big question. Is AI making us smarter or more dependent?
Honestly, I don't think it's one or the other. AI is definitely making us more efficient and informed, but at the same time, it can make us more dependent if we are not careful.
Yeah, because research shows AI increases productivity and access to knowledge, but it also raises concerns about reduced critical thinking and over-reliance on instant answers. So both sides are actually happening at the same time.
For me, AI is like a mirror. It doesn't change who we are. It amplifies how we already think and react. If we're curious, it makes us more capable. If we're passive, it makes us more dependent.
I actually agree with that. I think AI isn't replacing intelligence, it's reshaping it. The question whether we're actively growing with it or just relying on it too much, it really goes back to what we said earlier. Are we going to be the driver who uses AI like a GPS to navigate better, or the passenger asleep in the back of a self-driving car, just hoping we don't end up in a lake?
And I think students are in the middle of that transition right now. We are the generations that has to figure and I think students are in the middle of that transition right now. We are the generations that has to figure out how to balance both.
So instead of asking, is AI good or bad? Maybe the better question is, are we still thinking for ourselves while using it?
Because at the end of the day, AI is just a tool. It can guide us, assist us, and even inspire us. But it shouldn't define how we think.
And if we use it responsibly, it can actually make us smarter. Not because it replaces thinking, but because it enhances it.
But if we rely blindly, we risk becoming dependent on something we don't fully understand.
So the future isn't about choosing between humans or AI. It's about whether humans stay intentional in how we use AI.
Now, before we fully wrap up, let's think ahead for a moment. Like, what do you think AI will look like in the next 5 to 10 years?
Well, honestly, it's kind of wild to imagine because as of now, AI is already so powerful. But I think AI will become even more integrated into everyday life. Not just apps we open, but something that's always been there. Sorry. Like built into schools, workplaces, and even into our homes.
Yeah, and we're probably going to see AI tutors that are way more advanced, not just answering questions, but actually adapting to how a student learns, like identifying weaknesses and creating personalized lessons in real time.
And in workplaces, AI might handle even more complex tasks, not just simple automation, but decision support, like helping doctors diagnose diseases faster or helping engineers design systems more efficiently.
But that also raises a question. If AI becomes that advanced, what happens to human skills? Like, will students still practice writing, solving problems, or even basic research the same way?
That's where I think the balance becomes even more important in the future, because the better AI gets, the easier it is to rely on it completely.
Also, we might start seeing AI that feels more human-like in communication, like virtual assistant that can hold deeper conversations, maybe even act like study partners or collaborations.
But experts also warn that as AI becomes more powerful, issues like misinformation, overdependence, and ethical control will become even bigger challenges.
So in a way, the future of AI doesn't just depend on technology. It depends on how humans choose to control and use it.
Exactly, because 5 to 10 years from now, AI won't be just something we use. It might be something we live with every single day.
Which makes today's discussion even more important because the habits we build now will shape how we interact with AI in the future.
So if we don't learn balance today, we might struggle with dependence tomorrow.
So if that's the future we're heading toward, then the real question isn't just what AI will become.
It's what we will become alongside it.
So that's our discussion on whether AI is making us smarter or more dependent.
We explored how it helps us learn faster, but also how it can weaken deep thinking if misused.
We look at creativity, ethics, risks, and responsibilities.
And in the end, we realize AI isn't the final answer. It's a reflection of how we choose to use it.
So maybe the real intelligence isn't in the AI, it's in how we use it.
Okay na, ending? Or...
Optional po, magtatanong, lagyan na ng time. Kung mag-iamot ba ta? Kailangan ko kay Kwan.
More than?